Ladies and gentlemen, today's show is sponsored by Stevens & Stevens Group Real Estate Company out of the state of Georgia. And also, if you would like classic wrestling, be sure and check out this man. Bad to the bone, Bullet Bob Armstrong. He's been married a Georgia firefighter. He's got a wrestling family in the wrestling business. So be sure and check him out. And by the way, he did recently retire a couple months ago, but you can still check out his classic matches. He's good. Bullet Bob Armstrong. Okay. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, today we welcome to the show. He is the host of Bigfoot and Company, ScaryCast, and the other show used to be called Comic-Con Stars. He changed the name of it. And I'll let him tell you about that when he gets on the show. Today's been a long day, so I apologize. I'm not, I can't remember everything. But he also hosted several conventions in Clayton, Georgia, and also up in North Carolina. He does conventions. Please welcome, without any further ado, he's the man, the myth, the legend, been wanting to get on this show for I don't know how long, and I'm glad to have him as one of my last few guests under me as host of this great show, the WSC Lounge. Please welcome Dr. John.
Hey, Brian, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you doing, Dr. John?
I'm doing just great. I am up in Cherokee, North Carolina. Well, actually, I am halfway between Cherokee, North Carolina, and Clayton, Georgia. Pulled off on Highway 441 to talk to you and all your fans. I'm up here working today on the Cherokee Comic-Con, which is going to be August the 23rd through the 25th, starring Papa Stroh, the Maestro of Wrestling.
Uh-huh.
And then we've got the Georgia Bigfoot Conference, the Fall Georgia Bigfoot Conference. That's coming up October the 18th through the 20th in Clayton, Georgia. And it's going to be a blast. Both of them are going to be a lot of fun. Looking forward to seeing fans from every corner of the globe, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia. How about that?
That sounds awesome, Dr. John. As always, you put on, I've never been to any of your shows, but hopefully I will one day. As always, you put on great conventions and great shows for the entire family. And first of all, though, Dr. John, I want to ask you, how did you get into all this stuff with, growing up as a kid? I mean, I know you're a wrestling fan, and I know Papa Stroh got you into that, and then also, Lizard Man, Bigfoot, UFOs, the Mandela theory. I mean, how'd you get into all that?
All right, well, it may take a few minutes here, but I'll tell you the whole story. How about that?
Okay, go ahead.
All right, here's what back when I was a kid, not net internet. And what we had was Saturday afternoon, Saturday, and we had, right after wrestling on Channel 4 and Channel 7 up in the mountains of North Carolina, then we had Shop Theater. That was those old Universal B-rated monster films at 3 o'clock on Saturday afternoon. And I can tell you, when it was 30 degrees in the wintertime, I mean, parents didn't take their kids all over the place like they do now. And so we got to watch wrestling at 1 o'clock, wrestling at 2 o'clock, and monster movies 3 o'clock to 5. And that's what we did on Saturday afternoon. When it was cold, we couldn't go out and play basketball, stuff like that in our yard. It was just too cold. So I've always been a monster movie fan. I mean, that's what I watched. That's what I grew up watching. Dracula's Daughter. God, what a great film. And all those, and then of course I got my fair share of Superman, the reruns. That's all we had. We had Superman reruns on TV when we came home, and Three Stooges. So what happened was I always liked monsters, and that was back when monster models, the plastic monster models, those Aurora models were just so popular. And so we all built them. We did that. So when we go to Sunday school, we talk about wrestling and we talk about the monster movies with our friends at church. Then on Monday, we talk about wrestling and the monster movies when our friends didn't go to our church. And that's what boys did back when we were 14 years old growing up in North Carolina. So I was always interested in the paranormal, I guess because of that.
Mm-hmm.
And so it just grew and grew and grew. And then I had to go get a job and all that stuff. And the internet came, and it helped me check out more about monster movies and paranormal and everything, and I really enjoyed it. So what happened is very interesting. I went and got my doctorate at North Carolina State University in Raleigh. And so about 40 minutes away is Durham, North Carolina, the home of the Rhine research. J.B. Rhine was the guy that coined the term ESP, or extrasensory perception. And so I went over there presenting myself. I said, I'm getting a doctorate, and I'm going to have, this semester, I've got classes Tuesday and Thursday, but Wednesday I can come over and help a little bit, whatever. And they said, sure, that would be great. We always need volunteers. So I actually became a research associate. So I did that for 3 years. It was a lot of fun. I met a lot of folks in the paranormal world. Did a lot of scientific research over there. I met especially an interesting fellow named Joe McMonagle. Joe was a remote viewer. Now, for the folks that don't know what remote viewing is, that is the ability of someone with psychic ability to see things in their head that are going on somewhere else. Now, a lot of people say, well, that doesn't work. Well, it does. I've seen plenty of experiments when they would put objects in another room, and I would be watching them, and we wouldn't know what they were, and they would describe what they were, or they would draw them, and they would be almost 100% correct. So yes, folks, that does exist. And they used to work for the government. There was something called Project ScaryCast. And Joe McMonagle, Ingo Swan, and several others worked for the government doing this kind of thing, especially during Vietnam era. And so they did it. It was known facts. There's been a couple of books about it. And the government said they shut it down. Well, of course they didn't. They just wanted to kill everyone. They shut it down. They still contract those guys to do work when they need it, when they need to know what's going on somewhere else. They can't send in troops or spies or whatever. So yes, it does work. So anyway, that's kind of fuel the fire. And I enjoyed my time there. And then I was a professor of computer science. And then when I left that, after 15 years, I started selling life insurance, right? And it was kind of fun. And every time I went over to see some people, they always wanted to tell me about their deceased relatives. Now, it's very funny. They always wanted to talk to me about the afterlife. I mean, it's just crazy. And I was, of course, very interested in that. So what happened was I met this fellow, Cody Haynes. He's my business partner. And he applied for jobs selling life insurance with me. Now, what I can tell you about Cody is when he applied, and I looked at his picture, he looked 12 and he was growing a beard, so he looked 15. Of course, he was 21. That didn't matter. After I interviewed him, I said, Cody, this is not going to work. Nobody's going to believe you know anything about life, death, or life insurance. He said, I know, John, but I'm a good caricature artist. Let me show you what I can do. So he got on his phone, pulled up his Facebook page, and showed me some caricatures. I said, wow, that's great. We ought to start a caricature company. And he said, boy, that's what I want to do more than anything else. I said, all right, let's do it. And Brian, I started wondering, now what in the world did I just do? I don't know this guy. And it just looked appealing to me. Now, I knew what a caricature was. It's a cartoon drawing. It's something usually with a big head.
Yeah.
Perfect to me because I do have a big head. Anyway, so we started doing that in the movie Jerry. you're right. I've never been to one either. So I went over to the comic book shop, the local comic book shop, and I didn't even know what it was, didn't know how to talk about it. And I said, well, we need to be involved. And you know, and I was trying not to act like an idiot. Maybe I looked like it. So I said, you know, we need to be involved. He said, well, all you do is side tables. I said, really? I said, hey, well, how much are they? He said, they're $125. I said, I have to have $100 with me. You take $100 and call it even? He said, yes, sir, you just bought the first table. I said, yay. So about 2 months later, we go to this Comic-Con. I don't know what to expect. We walk in there. There are people dressed like Superman, Spider-Man, Wonder Woman, Catwoman, you know, the whole 9 yards. And so we sat there, and lo and behold, in 2 days, we made $800. We didn't know what to do. We thought we were going to heaven. But I looked around and said, you know, I can do these things. I could contact vendors and I could advertise and all that. And I said, I think I'm going to try it. So a couple months later, I announced Cape Fear Comic-Con. And I had canceled because I was a month out and I didn't have any vendors. I really didn't know what I was doing. So I went over to see my buddy Denny Stevenson in Florence, South Carolina. Denny ran the Florence Comic-Con, did a great job. He had become a very good friend of mine. He said, John, don't cancel it. Just postpone it. Nobody will care if you postpone it. He said, I postponed my first one, and look at me now. I said, okay. So I moved it out to like March of the next. And Brian, we were at this little tiny news launch in Wilmington, North Carolina. I had 51 vendors, and I had like 800 people. And I thought I had done something great. People had a wonderful time. So that kind of started me in the Comic-Con business. And then I was doing, then Papa Maestro, had told me that I ought to try to do a podcast that I sounded like I'd been on radio, and I had. So I tried doing one, and it was okay, you know, and then I invited him on the show. Of course, he knew what he was doing. And then I said, would you like to co-host mine with me? He said, sure. Then we had Dave Atwell on as a guest, and Dave was so funny. I said, Dave, will be co-host? He said, sure. And it kind of grew from there. It started out as Comic-Con Stars, and then it became Pop Culture Stars during that legal ruling about the San Diego Comic-Con name. So, well, that's fine. So we changed the name. We've been rocking and rolling ever since. Well, now, I'm being interested in the paranormal. And now, this is going to turn right around to this week. Okay, Brian?
Okay.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Well, I've always been a huge fan of Coast to Coast AM. And as a lot of your viewers or listeners know, Coast to Coast AM is it's the overnight 4-hour talk show all about the paranormal and weird stuff and conspiracy theories and interesting people. That's all I really care about anyway. You know, I love that stuff. So I said, you know what? I started doing some of that stuff on Pop Culture Stars, and my buddies didn't like. They don't like that stuff. So I said, I'm just going to start my own paranormal podcast. You know? So I did. I started getting some guests, and I started meeting people on the internet, especially like, you know, when Facebook will say, you should be friends with so-and-so. And I started meeting other folks that had paranormal podcasts, other, you know, Bigfoot researchers, ghost researchers, everything. Developed kind of a whole bunch of friends like that. So I found it kind of easy to start getting guests, and really good guests, for ScaryCast. And now, I meet this fellow named Josh. He said that he was the producer for Dr. J. That's John Elias, who was the original, one of the original producers for Art Bell, who started Coast to Coast AM. Well, I became friends with him. He got me a couple of guests when I was running short of guests. And then lo and behold, this Thursday night at 11:30 p.m. special time on ScaryCast, you can hear me and Papa Stro. And we're without Papa, I'm telling you that. Papa Stro, original producers of Artbell and Coast to Coast AM. And so my biggest day is Thursday night at 11:30 p.m. at ScaryCast.com.
Wow. Well, I'll tell you what, you've had quite a journey to, get where you are now from the early days of not knowing what you were doing with the Comic Con to having 51 vendors and 800 something people. I mean, that's incredible. And, I know that, yeah.
Just a minute, because a motorcycle's going to start up next to me.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go to a quick commercial break, and we will be right back after this commercial break. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to let you know that with that commercial, the shows now air only on Sundays, and you can use the code the code that Kristen mentioned during the commercial for the Marvelous Wonderettes in New York City. And we are back here on the WSC Lounge with Dr. John. Hello, and Dr. John, I know that you love Bigfoot and everything, and I wanted to ask you, and I know you've probably seen it, but this is one of my all-time favorite movies, and it kind of involves Bigfoot. You ever seen Harry and the Hendersons?
Well, of course.
Do you think, have you had any, I'm not going to say do you think, have you had any latest sightings of Bigfoot, and what have you came across? Because I heard, I believe it was last week on Retro or the week before, you had mentioned that you did get some sightings of Bigfoot where you were staying at somewhere in Georgia. So.
Well, here's the story.
Okay.
This is another little story, and I think it's enjoyable. So this one of these things on Facebook says, "Do you know this guy? His name is Eugene Yost."
Mm-hmm.
I said no, but I quickly checked because he looked like a Bigfoot guy, and he was. He had done a lot of Bigfoot exploration, so I clicked friend. We started chatting just a little bit, and it became very clear to me that he knew an awfully lot about Bigfoot, a lot about Bigfoot. So I said, "Can I call through and chat with you?" He said, "Sure." So I started talking to him. Yeah, he was really well versed. He'd been out doing a lot, and then he went out with his dad. They did a lot of exploration, and I said, "You know what? I want you to stop right there. I think you'd be great on one of my shows. So let's do a special edition ScaryCast tomorrow morning." He said, "Sure." Well, lo and behold, he was there, right on time, and we talked a little bit. Well, we talked for an hour, and then he said at the end, I said, "You got anything to plug?" And Papa Strode called it. You plug, you let people have a plug time. So he said, "Well, yeah, I've got this channel that my dad and I have." I said, "Really? Tell me about it." He said, "It's called Squatchman TV." I said, "Oh, you're kidding. Is your dad Squatchman?" He said, "Yeah. His name's Greg Yost. My name's Eugene Yost." I said, "I'm obviously the only person that didn't figure that one out." And his dad is very, very well known on the East Coast. Nice guy.
Wow.
Funny, kind of all. So anyway, so I ended up with Squatchman Jr. And he's become a very good friend.
Mm-hmm.
So what happened was he could not make it to the Georgia Bigfoot Conference. He just had a new kid.
Mm-hmm.
So his wife said, "Get out of the house and go down with John and go in the woods and try to see if you can find Bigfoot." He said, "Sure." So he drove the boys drove all the way down to Louisiana. Come meet me in Clayton, Georgia. And he said, so he met me at the Chick-fil-A, like now. He said, "All right, where we go?" I said, "We go north." He said, "North Carolina." He said, "We're in Georgia." I said, "We're only 10 minutes away." He said, "Oh, good." So we drove up North Carolina to a very special
Hmm.
So he took us around. We took a bunch of pictures. Here's what we found. We got two very good pictures of Bigfoot tracks, fresh. We found a lot of stick figures, constructions that are not natural that have to be made by an entity like Bigfoot. And we got a picture of a small woodland creature, one with two legs.
So did you determine what that creature was?
Absolutely not. There's a lot of critters out there, Brian.
Oh yeah, I know.
Don't know, but I mean, it was really cool. So we struck pay dirt on our first trip out there, and a lot of people in the Bigfoot community were excited. They were excited he had kids, and he goes right out, gets all these great pictures, and it was wonderful. So we had a good time. And that was the last, it was about 3 weeks, 4 weeks ago maybe. That was my last Bigfoot exploration. Now, I'm in Clayton, going to Clayton, Georgia now for 2 days, and I, of course, have a mysterious, about 6 hours of time blocked out tomorrow. Someone said, what you doing? During that 6 hours, I said, maybe you could guess. So, I might go out and see what I will know.
Mm-hmm.
There's plenty of paranormal stuff in Clayton, Georgia, so that'll be good. And then I'll be back, back to Carolina Characters in Myrtle Beach.
Well, you know, I just thought about something. I know that I know you're good friends with rapper T.I., and you know, we'll talk about that.
Well, with his family.
Oh, with his family. Okay, his family.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wife,
Okay.
ex-wife,
Uh-huh.
ex-mother-in-law.
Okay. Well, you know, I just thought about something. Have you ever thought about talking to this guy that his dad is really well known here on the East Coast for his YouTube channel and stuff? Have you ever thought about you and him finding the right producers or directors? Because I know Papa Stroh probably knows a lot of them, as well as Danielle Sandler, and producing your own reality TV show with you and him going out on adventures and trying to track down Bigfoot and actually airing it on a cable network or even a streaming service.
Well, I have a meeting in the morning, and that's all I'll say.
All right. Well, we will leave it at that, Dr. John. We'll leave it at that.
There's a meeting in Commerce, Georgia,
Mm-hmm.
at the Waffle House tomorrow morning at 9:30. I'll leave it at that.
Okay. Well, I really hope the best for you on that. I really do, because it'll be very exciting to see you in a reality show if that comes to pass, or whatever that means about. Now, I know that you also love Lizard Man, and so have you had any sightings of have you ever had any sightings of Lizard Man?
That's a very interesting question. At the Georgia Bigfoot Conference, I met a well-known cryptid explorer,
Mm-hmm.
and he showed me several hundred night vision camera pictures of a lizard man.
Wow.
And he told me that lizard man has migrated to a different area of the South. And he told me the location where these pictures were taken. And I was stunned. So, we're going to that location here in a couple of months with some night vision cameras and some guns in case somebody wants to get fresh with it.
Mm-hmm.
The lizard man is not necessarily a happy boy. He's not necessarily a mean boy, but he's a crossing. There have been reports of deaths associated with lizard man, unlike the fake news that comes out of the South Carolina Cotton Museum that he's a vegetarian, because he is not. And there are some very horrifying stories of lizard man.
So is
Rid of the fake.
is lizard man a creature that lives in the water or lives out of the water?
A little bit of both. Amphibian, I think. You know, it lives a little outside of the water, a
Mhm.
lot in the water. And they're also, you know, this man is very, actually very well known in Australia. It's called the bunyip.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got a copy of the book by Gary Oak. He's a well-known cryptozoologist in Australia. And that boy has got some great descriptions of the lizard man. Been around ever since settlers and British people, or been recorded ever since the settlers and British people have come to Australia. They just accept it. They don't sit around and say it doesn't exist. There are many, many mysterious disappearances and deaths, of course, associated with the bunyip, and that is their version of the lizard man. So, I mean, you know, go figure.
That's very interesting, and I'm going to tell you something that you may have not heard before. I know that you try to track down Bigfoot, and you try to find sightings of Bigfoot, but with lizard man, do you know that it would be 100 times harder for you to be able to track down lizard man and take care of lizard man? And do you know why?
Why?
Because a lizard can change colors to blend in with the same color.
Yes. I have a report from Augusta, Georgia about that very thing. And I'm trying to get a phone interview with the fellow. Absolutely, sheerly frightening.
It is. It really is. Because, see, I used to have a lizard myself, and it would change colors, and I'd be looking for it. I said, "Where's that lizard at?" And I looked, and I said, "Oh, change colors." You know, and, I wouldn't even know it. Had me fooled.
Yep. So it's scary. It really is. So, and lizard man, you know, if we can get a picture, if I just be involved in a picture, I'm going to be fine. I've had, you know, at least a near sighting of Bigfoot with those very fresh footprints. It's cool. I enjoyed that very much. Went out exploring for Bigfoot with Eugenio's super guide. So that's about what I know. And yeah, lizard man, there are sightings. I think Lyle Blackburn had about 12 or 13 in his book, Lizard Man: The True Story of the Bishopville Monster. And he kind of left it at that. But there's still been sightings ever since 1990. We really don't talk about it. It's a wild and crazy area down there in Lee County and Sumter County. So, you know, there are strange entities everywhere. I was just talking with Brandon Baylor. Brandon does music for all of the Small Town Monsters documentaries. And they have gone to some very good little towns and done documentaries on the serious sightings. Excuse me. They've had lots of eyewitnesses that just have to say, look, this is the way it is. And so they've listened to them. And so I think people need to stop dismissing these sightings just because they haven't seen one. I mean, I'll be honest with you, Brian. I've never physically seen a submarine. That doesn't mean that they don't exist. There are pictures, people talk about it, but I've never seen one. Just because I've never seen one doesn't mean I should say that they don't exist.
That's true. I mean, there's a lot of things. There's a lot of different creatures out there that I've never seen firsthand either, and I can't sit here and say they don't exist. Now, I did think of something else while you were talking about trying to find Bigfoot and trying to find Lizard Man. Have you ever tried to, and I know this is from a movie and a TV show, but man, this was one of my favorite movies growing up. I mean, I just loved the movie Swamp Thing. Do you think that there is actually a Swamp Thing out there? And do you think there is a Loch Ness monster from the sea?
Swamp Thing's probably close to Wikipedia.
Uh-huh.
Loch Ness Monster. There's been a lot of fighting for something. I don't know what it is. They've been fighting for something.
Wow.
I mean, I don't know what else to say. I mean, Swamp Thing is the best represent or some variants.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm sorry, got something.
Oh, that.
In the throat, maybe lizard fans get me. But yeah, I mean, this thing's all over. Things do go bump in the night.
Well, let's move the topic on over to something else that is a little paranormal. Paranormal. Sorry about that. You know, you have aliens, and the other day, last Monday, 1 week ago, I had Danielle Sandler on the show. She was talking about her belief in the Mandela theory and talking about how Star Wars is not Luke, I am your father. It says, okay, I am your father. And wonder if people went back in history and changed the movie lines just to trick the human mind. And another thing she talked about was her beliefs in aliens. And the thing about it is, it does make you wonder about the alien belief, because on Mars, they've said that they found actually water on Mars, and they've also found, you know, that there was some kind of something living on Mars, you know, so it makes you really wonder about that.
Well, I don't wonder about it at all. The Sumerians reported UFOs 70,000 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
My parents and I saw a UFO flying above our car when they came to college to bring me back home for a weekend. We saw a green cigar-shaped UFO, and we watched it for a while. Then it just drove on off. And when we got home, I said, "Dad, what'd you think about that?" He said, "Son, we're not going to talk about that."
Mm-hmm.
And that was the end of that. So, I mean, I have had some experiences. I've had some time losses. Many people have had time loss, instances, which is likely direct contact with UFO or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, there are UFOs. More people have seen a UFO than not. And, you know, we see them all the time in Myrtle Beach, standing on the boardwalk. You can see these red lights that do strange things at 10, 11, 12, 1 o'clock in the morning. And it's not airplanes. I mean, they're certainly real entities, and we see them. People take video footage of them. I mean, they're
Mm-hmm.
there. I mean, you know, let's not be children about UFO things.
Well,
UFOs exist, and aliens,
Mm-hmm.
obviously, there's got to be someone piloting them. So, you know, I mean, I think it's all very, very silly. Just very silly. Too many people have had experiences.
well,
There wouldn't be millions of reported. I'm sorry. I'll make
Uh-huh.
a statement and then I'll be quiet.
Okay. Oh, that's okay.
Millions of reported sightings of UFOs if there wasn't something there. Where there's a huge, gigantic forest fire, where there's a huge cloud of smoke, there's probably a huge, gigantic forest fire. Yeah, I got that correct.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, I think it's natural. My parents and I saw one, clearly. And my dad didn't want to talk about it. It didn't compute for him. And that's fine. I respected my dad and loved it, but I knew it was outside of the world that he wished to live in. So that was it. That's all I know about that. Mandela effect is, I have a talk on that I have given. I'll be
Mm-hmm.
glad to summarize kind of the results that I know that explain the Mandela effect.
Now that is relating to Nelson Mandela, right? The one that brainwashed all those people.
Well, the Mandela effect first got identified by two girls who were rooming together at Dragon Con. Because used to, people would go on Craigslist, they were looking for a roommate for Dragon Con, and it didn't have a bad connotation. And nice people could find a roommate for 3 or 4 days down there in Atlanta where it wasn't so expensive. Sharing with, so there was a time when it was okay to find a temporary roommate for an event. I mean, I guess you still do it, but I know that they met in 2010. One girl was talking about what a great world leader Nelson Mandela was, and it's a shame that he had died in the late 90s. And the other girl said, well, no, I mean, he didn't die in the late 90s. I mean, he became president of South Africa and won the Nobel Prize. The girl said, well, no, my mother and I watched the funeral on television. We saw his wife cry during the eulogy. So the other girl pulled up on the internet and showed her Nelson Mandela still alive at that point. She said, that's crazy. I saw the funeral. Well, I had a very similar experience. I was up on life insurance, so I was at a house in Florence, Prince County, and the funeral of Dr. Billy Graham came home. And I had heard that Dr. Graham had died of pneumonia up in Black Mountain, or Montreat, North Carolina. That's where he lived. So, nothing that I didn't expect. Huge crowd. And I was the lady and I, we stepped into her den to watch a little bit of it, and I saw ABC News ask Reverend Franklin Graham, his son, said, now, what's going to happen to the ministry now that your father has died? He said, oh, Dad hasn't been doing anything, he hasn't been involved in running this for years. I just let him go preach. That's all he wants to do, and he loves doing it. So, and I remember that statement. I mean, I wouldn't have made that up. And I even corroborated that with the lady in Florence County. I went by when I found out that Lois Holmes is 99 years old, living happily in Montreat, North Carolina. Now, I remember that. She remembered it too, and she thought it was right funny. She'd heard he was alive too. She didn't know what to make of it. Now, I'll tell you something interesting. I had a Mandela effect experience this past weekend. I was at an event, and I looked around, and there was a particular product that didn't seem to exist. But I can tell you that in 2004, it was the hottest product in England, and it was all over the post. And I looked around, and I asked people. I was very careful how I asked. But there is a beer-related product that doesn't seem to exist now. It was insanely popular, so I'm in the process of creating it. I saw something in a different timeline. That's what Mandela effect is. We slip and slide between parallel universes, and we see things differently. Apparently, when I was in England, I was way in a different parallel universe than I am now. So I finally realized that, and I've heard other inventors say that you don't remember when certain things existed and then they don't now, and then they just flipped them up. I had another experience. I am producing a Comic-Con in Summerville, South Carolina. That's a large suburb of Charleston. And so, of course, I was down there, and I'm talking about vendors, everybody's excited. And more vendors than not said to me, well, that's been going on 5 or 6 years, and I mean, the one last year was really good. And I started saying, well, no, there's never been one in Somerville. And then I realized, shut up, John, just agree with them, because they remember a kicking Comic-Con in Somerville, and don't let them think that you don't tell them it didn't exist, because apparently it did exist for them.
Wow.
I had 2 Mandela effects in one day. Absolutely frightening. But I realized, don't tell them it didn't exist. Just because it didn't exist for me doesn't mean it doesn't exist for them.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Right, Brian?
That's right. That is right.
Don't contradict their truth, because that is the truth for them. Be careful when people tell you something's true and you don't know about it. It might be true for them.
That's true. I mean, you don't. I mean, if you're not there in that particular time, and somebody sees something or says they saw something, you say, "Oh no, you didn't." How you gonna know that? I mean, you wasn't there. I mean, so.
Yes, sir.
So
You're
you.
101% right. And so everybody better watch out now about contradicting people, especially when they have a clear memory of it. You need to learn that maybe they do have a memory of it. Maybe they're not crazy.
Well, I'll tell you something very, very funny, Dr. John. And I still ain't figured this out till today. I know you don't watch soap operas and stuff, but there's something that I've never figured this out. There was a couple of episodes of Bold and the Beautiful that aired, and it had the character of Wyatt and Hope, and they were on the couch, and they were having they had like candles stuff around them, and they were just talking. Well, when you go back through, okay, now it happened to where the scene was there, but then when you go back through and watch it produced from CBS app, or you watch it on other apps, or you watch it on, through the internet, the scene, it's like part of the scene for some reason with Hope, the characters of Hope and Wyatt was actually cut out of the Bold and the Beautiful episode, and I never have figured out why, and I never have even seen that happening on any soap opera. And this happened like in, I think it was 2013 or 2014, and I don't know how that one particular scene of them talking was cut out and the rest was left, and so that might be part of the Mandela effect. I don't know, but it was just very, very weird and just unreal to me. I was like, wait a minute, I just saw that. Where's it at? Wait a minute. What? So I don't know, but
Well, it's like there's a particular Twilight Zone episode that I know, and I've seen about 3 times.
uh-huh.
And it doesn't seem to exist. And neither does, and when I put the name that I remember in quotes in Google,
Uh-huh.
nothing comes up. So what I've done is I've about finished writing. I said, well, it's good enough. It's good enough in another timeline. It's good enough here. But I have absolutely seen a Twilight Zone episode that I know for a fact. I know the name of it. I remember the whole episode, and it does not exist.
Wow.
In the catalog or on the internet or anything. So yeah, these things are real.
That is amazing.
But what you got to realize, it might be you have generated yourself an opportunity by jumping to a reality, to a different parallel universe, where you know something that works in another one. It probably works over here. One product that I remember that was so hot in England, I can't find it. It doesn't exist. It existed in every pub in England, and it is void on the internet. It does not exist.
Wow.
Working on it. So yeah.
That's amazing. I just wonder if anybody, I know that people have seen UFOs before, because I thought I've seen stuff like that before as well, but I wonder if anybody has ever had an encounter with an alien. That's what I wonder.
With a what?
An alien.
A bunch of people have.
Oh, really?
bunches and bunches and bunches of people.
Wow.
I mean, I transcribed. I've got a story. It's real weird. I met the guy at Tennessee for conference. He told me the story. We stayed in touch for about a month, and I wrote the story down. It was great and everything. I mean, I'm going to be putting it out here soon. I mean, I'm just going to take his name off of it. It's a great story, but he had an alien encounter. A lot of people have. Because I normally have someone from Newfound, the Mutual UFO Network, at my events, and they report these all the time. So, yeah. People have alien experiences all the time. I might have. I don't know. We might not remember them.
Wow, that's just amazing. You know, that's incredible. Now we're going to move on to another topic that I know that you love, and I love as well. We're going to move on to topic of wrestling, and the first thing I want to ask you about is, what are your thoughts about the upcoming AEW Double or Nothing pay-per-view that Cody Rhodes, the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, Chris Jericho are putting on this coming Saturday, May 25th, from the MGM Grand in Las Vegas, Nevada, and the company owned by Tony Khan, the owner of the Jacksonville Jaguars?
Well, I have to admit that I really don't keep up much with professional wrestling today. I'm really a student of the old NWA and WCW.
Okay.
And,
okay.
I mean, if Papa Strode probably protects me a little bit on that. He doesn't ask me those questions because he knows if I'm watching wrestling, I'm watching Roddy Piper, I'm watching George Becker and Johnny Weaver, I'm watching Dan Malarian Hanson, because that's what I grew up with, and I love it. So, you know, I'll have to back off on that one just because that's why I love, you know, the rest of the matches of the week. I think it's great.
Okay.
I'll just try to get one that involves one of my superheroes. Piper, Flair, who else? Piper, Flair, Andre the Giant, of course. That's the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he and Ric Flair have changed the entire face of wrestling. And Gorgeous George. Those three men right there have, well, you know, Gorgeous George created the bad guy. He created the heel. There was no such thing as a heel before Gorgeous George in 1950. And you know that he created the storyline by bringing his valet in and doing all the things. Gorgeous George invented professional wrestling as we know it. And nobody else. And then Dusty Rhodes was a great storyteller. See, phenomenal storyteller. He's a great wrestler too. And
you know you also can't forget the voice of Gordon Soley. He would always say, "So long, everybody. Till next time. We'll see you next time." I used to love him.
When I could get Channel 14 in Hickory, and I could watch Florida Championship Wrestling from 7 to 8 on Friday night, on Saturday night. I begged my parents, let's go out and eat early or something so I can watch Florida Championship Wrestling. Cowboy something or other, I can't remember his name, was the guy that promoter, and
You talking about Cowboy Bill Watts?
No, it was a different dude. It was an old he was the promoter. I can't remember his name, but you know, they had such luminaries as the Briscoe brothers. The Funk brothers.
Are you talking about was it Ron Fuller? The Fuller brothers? It wasn't them?
No, he was not a wrestler.
Okay.
They had two guys that had the worst, meanest feud you ever saw. And they're not household names anymore, but they were huge down in Florida. One was Dale Lewis, former U.S. Olympic wrestler, and a guy named Cyclone Negro. And they had the meanest, nastiest
Jerry Lawler?
Lawler.
Yes.
And the boogeyman and all that. I mean, this was just as good as that. I mean, Florida Championship Wrestling was the greatest thing.
You know,
The NWA so good.
you know, when I was growing up, and I'm gonna tell you right now, wrestling is nothing today like it was when I was growing up. And I'm talking about back before. I'm talking about back even before WCW. When I was growing up, I remember watching Superstars of Wrestling, hosted by Joe Pedicino and Bonnie Blackstone, and you had Samuel F. Kent. And they'd come on Saturday nights, UPN 69, before it became the CW, and they would air from 8 till 2 a.m. in the morning. They had Memphis, Smoky Mountain, NWA, WWF, Continental, wrestling out of Puerto Rico, Glow Women's Wrestling, North Georgia Wrestling, ICW Wrestling, World Class Wrestling, AWA Wrestling, and I think I think that's about it. But they had all kinds of them. They would each air for an hour, and they'd come on there, and Bonnie and Joe would say, "Okay, folks, we're going now to the so and so territory to watch today's action with so and so fighting so and so." And I remember watching in Memphis. You mentioned Memphis. I remember seeing Jerry Lawler and Eddie Gilbert, and I remember seeing Jerry Lawler throw fire in Eddie Gilbert's face, and they had classic feuds as well as Jeff Jarrett and Jerry the King Lawler in Memphis. And I remember it was wrestling out of Puerto Rico, I believe it was. It was the Guerrero brothers. Now I don't know if you remember them wrestling as three, but they would wrestle as three, and they did a move that I have rarely seen illustrated in professional wrestling since the 80s, and that was the wheelbarrow move, to where each guy got on the end. It was Eddie, Hector, and Mondo, I believe it was. They would all grab the legs. It was like a rowboat, and they would just go like that. I mean, it was incredible. And you can see my illustration when you go back and watch this live show, because I know you can't see it through the phone. But I mean, it was just amazing to watch all that. And then the Continental, I got to see Bullet Bob Armstrong, Jerry Stubbs, who I know personally now. Jerry Stubbs is a great guy, and I seen Jerry Stubbs feuding. Him and Dirty White Boy teamed up, and they'd always be feuding with Dr. Tom Pritchard over the Continental Wrestling title. And you had Harvey Whipperman, who was back then known as I'm trying to think what his name was. But anyway, he was the manager of the Lord Humongous. And the Lord Humongous was actually played by Sid Vicious. And he come out there with this big old Jason horror mask on. And nobody knew who it was, and he would come out there and wrestle each week. And you had Johnny and Davey Rich, the Rich brothers, cousins of Tommy Wildfire Rich. And I mean, it was just so cool to see all that. And then world class, you had Iceman King Parsons, the Fabulous Freebirds, the Von Erichs, Wild Bill Irwin, Eric Emery. I mean, you just had all those combustible elements, and I mean, it was just so fun to watch. And I remember in North Georgia Wrestling, you had the Rock and Roll PMs and Steve the Brawler Lawler and a bunch of other guys. But I mean, it was just so neat to watch that. I don't know if you ever watched Superstars of Wrestling or not.
No, I didn't. I probably couldn't get it.
Okay.
At that point.
Well,
But it was a lot of fun. It really was.
do you have anything you'd like to promote, Dr. John?
I'd like to promote next weekend, June 1st, is the Lizardman Festival. Bishopville, South Carolina. Maestro, and a bunch of other great folks. So we'll have a good time at the Lizardman Festival, Bishopville, South Carolina, Saturday, June 1.
Okay. Well, fans, you heard it. Go check that out. And thank you so much, Dr. John, for being on the show today. And I'll be sure to share it to your timeline and everything. And hope you have a great rest of the week.
Well, you too. I'm going to be up here in Clayton working on the Georgia Bigfoot Conference and the Cherokee Comic-Con, so I got plenty to do. Brian, thank you very much for having me. And thanks to everybody who listened. I really appreciate it.
Okay, you're very welcome.
All right, talk to you soon. I'll probably talk to you this week on WCW Wrestling.
Okay. Talk to you then.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Dr. John, host of Comic-Con Stars, which was changed. I still can't remember the name of it. Sorry about that. I do apologize. But he's a great, great person. Be sure and check out the replay if you're not catching us live. And I'm going to hold on a minute before I finish. Don't forget, this coming Thursday, right here, Maurice Bernard, right? See, this ain't working right. Okay, there we go. Right here, Maurice Bernard will be returning this coming Thursday. Mark your calendars. Get your questions ready. He'll be returning from 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10:30 Pacific Standard Time, 10:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time to 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. We'll be talking about so much this coming Thursday. He'll be coming back to the show. One of the biggest soap stars in soap opera history. Daytime Emmy winner. Alzheimer's advocate. Mental awareness advocate. Maurice Bernard returns this coming Thursday on the WSC Legend. I'll see you then. And let me go ahead and do the closing. Sorry about that. I got the hiccups.